Today's topic, top money mistakes I see from physicians and other high income earners. I gotta be honest, this is not my content. I am stealing this from a fantastic tweet from my co-host from the Physician Sense podcast and YouTube channel. Check us out, we're pretty cool, Tyler Olson. Tyler, in mid-December, had a post with 15, that's right, I'm going through all 15, things that he said, this is the top mistakes I see from physicians. I added in other high-income earners because I know that we do get a good amount of love on the YouTube channel from other high-income professionals, so they all pertain. Some of them you might say, well, I didn't have residency. Very true, but you'll pick it up. So I'm actually going to read through all 15, and it covers a lot of things, and I'm going to add some context to each. One of my favorite things about Tyler is one of the most caring, sweetest people I've ever met. And you can feel that in his tweets, right? The guy just has a massive heart. He just loves to help. But he also has this very intense, I'm going to use the word intense, side towards certain aspects of financial planning. And I love it. And sometimes I'll even poke him a little bit on the podcast just to see if I'm getting him fired up. He has a few of those bits in here. That's why I love it. So I'm going to read through all 15 of these coming up next with some context. Let's get into it. Okay, you know my quick ask before we get into it, right? Yep. If you have not subscribed to the channel. Click on the little thumbs up icon. Give us a little bit of love. We'll get this message out to even more. Comments are always read. We love comments. Drop us questions, ideas, other content you want to see. Do that all below. That's it. That's the pitch. Let's get into it. Number one, and again, I'm going to read these right from Tyler's tweet. Number one is not getting appropriate disability insurance early in their careers. Amen, my friend. This is one that we try to shout from the rooftops, but physicians in particular, other high-income earners too, but physicians get this really unique thing in their training where a lot of programs offer something called a GSI policy. You can either search that on our webpage for WealthKill, even our Physician Sense side. We also have a website there. You can also search on there. But this GSI policy is called a guaranteed standard issue. It's pretty much the easiest way to get your base coverage and disability insurance, and then you can add more throughout your career. But the beauty of that is there's really no health questions asked, but you can't mess up before that, right? You can't go apply because your brother-in-law works at Northwestern Mutual. There's going to be a funny context to this once I get a little bit further down. He didn't ask any health questions. You actually had some health issues. You were denied. Now you're in trouble. That's where you can actually get blocked then from a GSI policy. So if you're watching this and you've never applied for disability insurance and you're in residency or fellowship, ask your program if they have a GSI policy, guaranteed standard issue. That is really important. Number two on the list, deciding that since understanding every facet of personal finance is too hard, they will learn none of it. That's a good one. It's a deep one. It cuts deep, right? Because you may have read that one. You're like, yeah, that's me. Sure. Are there certain topics of personal finance that are a little bit more complicated? There are, but you're a physician, or let's just say you're another high-income earner. If you're making a lot of money, you're likely very intelligent, right? They just don't go to random people and say, hey, here's 200 grand per year for you and 300 grand for you and 150. It's not Oprah walking down the street. You are smart. And as I joke with all of our physicians, you are much smarter than me. If I can do this, you can do this. We just do it for a living, so that's why we can guide you a little bit more, but take the time to commit. You don't need to become a day trader. You don't need to become a CFP, a CFA. You name the acronym in there. You don't need to do that, but you need to have some context, whether that's through the White Coat Investor, whether that's through Physician Sense, whether that's through all the individuals through Ritholtz Wealth. I know that's becoming very popular in the physician community as well, just kind of a different tone there. But understanding personal finance and getting that level of base knowledge is vital. You don't need to invest your entire life into it, but understanding some aspects and at least some foundational knowledge in financial literacy, you're never going to be upset about that. So invest that time. Number three, pretending like the debt is not there. I can take it two ways, right? Student loans, clearly for the physician group in particular, that is a very tough pill to swallow. Then you kind of mix in all the craziness that's currently occurring with student loans. But this could also come back to too much home. This could come back to credit card debt. You need to have a plan of attack for your debt, whether that's student loans and you're going for public service loan forgiveness, or you went private practice and you're just trying to get them out of your way, whether that's, hey, I built up some credit card debt through my training and now I got to get it out of my way. Even into the attending years, making great income, but you still bought too much house or you bought way too many fancy cars. Can't pretend that it's not there. You got to address it. You got to get better with it, clean it up, move forward from there. Number four, buying a home straight out of training, moving to a city and a job that they have no prior experience or connection with. I love this one. I do always note, are there there times where individuals have bought a home in their training and they worked out okay? Yes, that has occurred. Down here in Tampa, we've met some newer clients that bought a home in training. Florida was like one of the biggest housing booms that there was, right? And then after their training, they actually still sold their house and made a ton. Do those stories happen? They do. But for the bulk of you, you need to tread lightly here. You want to get in there. One, you got to make sure you like the city, right? The area. I say city because I'm used to living in cities, but the area. You got to make sure you like your partners, right? You got to make sure you enjoy all of that. So before you go in and just, go buy $1 million home, understand the area. Understand too, there's a high probability that might not be your forever spot, right? You do your residency, maybe fellowship's there, maybe it's not, but like your attending spot likely could be somewhere different. So just be very careful there. We are big fans of renting during training. Not to say that that's right for everybody, but something to keep in mind. All right, number 5, buying insurance products from the guy who came to their residency program to teach them about personal finance. See, this is where we're starting to poke. If you poke Tyler, you can really get him going on these ones. This is one where if you just come out of it with disability insurance, I'm okay with it. I paused there for 2 reasons. One, I hope that it was because you actually came out of it with a GSI policy. Let's just say it wasn't a GSI policy, but you still got disability insurance from another provider. At least you have coverage there. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying you might not want to change that down the line, but at least you have something in place. Because the worst thing about disability insurance is, one day you're insurable and the next that you're not. Dr. Dolly, the White Coat Investor, does a great job always explaining this, saying that you're a physician, you're very smart, right? The things that you think won't matter in underwriting likely matter in underwriting. And that's where you got to be careful here. So be careful. I make the note there, like if you only come out of disability insurance, I'm in a good spot. I'm probably okay with that. My concern is you come out of that with like a massive whole life insurance policy. That's where I get really concerned. Or really expensive Roth IRA because you have all these class A mutual funds and everything's just super expensive. That's where we get concerned. Again, this is my context. This is not, I'm stealing Tyler's list, but I'm adding my context to it. So I just want to make that clear. Tyler would probably have plenty of good tidbits to add there. All right, number 6, being too afraid to invest, so they just keep building up their checking account where they have a ridiculous sums of money earning 0.01% interest. Shout it from the rooftops, my friend. Yes, don't be scared of investing. Are there risks? Certainly. Super high risk inside of investing, especially in the short term. Long term, I like your odds here. Short term, you have to understand that volatility is real. News headlines are real. Crazy things in the world do occur. But to Tyler's point, you also don't want all this building up in your bank account. I know what you're thinking. Chad, I don't ever lose money though, even though I'm getting 0.01% interest. This would also be a good time to give a shout out to high interest savings accounts, the Allies of the world, right? The Laurel Roads of the world, the Marcuses of the world. 0.01 interest is likely because your bank has a brick and mortar location. If you can walk into your branch location, you likely are getting 0.01% interest. But to my main point there, you're thinking, but I can't lose money, Chad. That's why I feel good. But you are. You are. It's called purchasing power, right? What did we just see crazy amounts of last year and we're starting seeing now, right? Inflation. Your money's growing at 0.01% interest, but the cost of bread and eggs just went up 7%. Yes, your bank account still says X dollars, but you can go buy 7% less right now. That's what we mean by purchasing power. So 6, spot on. Don't be afraid of the market, but understand the risk in there. Build your buckets. We call them buckets appropriately, right? Longer term accounts probably have a little bit more risk in there, right? You're not touching it for decades. Shorter term accounts, think your emergency fund. There should not be, you don't need to have as much risk in there because it's short term, right? You pretty much want to be in cash. That's what you're looking for in that shorter term. And for us, we consider short term anything really less than 10 years. A full market cycle we labeled as like a 10-year span. Anything less than 10 years, we like to have that pretty conservative. Maybe some bonds in there, but bonds can still have risk as well. All right, the last few are going to be a little bit shorter. Number 7, hiring someone from Northwestern Mutual. They're probably going to put a restraining order on Tyler soon, Northwestern Mutual. I'm going to leave that one as is. I think that's fair. In context, before I get any hate comments from anyone at Northwestern Mutual, are there people that do it the right way at Northwestern Mutual? There are, but there's a lot of people in there that are just slinging products. That's what we don't like. That's the nasty stuff. That's what we don't want to see. And in defense of Northwestern Mutual, there's other providers too that just sling products. They're just probably one of the most common ones, and it kind of feels like they prey on physicians. That's why we call them out a lot. Number 8, Tyler's getting poked here. Tyler knows what's happening. Getting disability insurance from some rando who emailed you. I love the word rando. I'm going to plug that in with everything I just said about, what was that, number 5. I'm not even going to get into that one. Look for an independent insurance broker. This is one where I'm actually going to plug in Physician Sense. On Physician Sense, if you go to our website, we actually have 3 preferred providers that we use at our practice in WealthKeel. I know Tyler uses with Olson Financial Planning. You want, and they're all independent. That's why I use them as my example. You want independent. You want someone to be a spreadsheet, the top 5 true ONOC providers. You don't want someone that comes to you and says, here's your quote. This is the only company we have. We put a lot of words that say medical in it, so you think it's built specifically for you, but it's actually not that great for you. I'm starting to act like Tyler now, starting to come after certain groups, but that is one that you need an independent broker to walk you through all of this. They need to walk you through underwriting. They got to ask you some health questions because that's only going to help you when you actually talk to the real underwriter and they get your application. You want all 5 of those. These are specific to your specialty, to the state you live in, to your gender. All of that comes into play. It's not just throw in your information and pick one of these. It's very precise. Disability insurance has a lot of moving parts to it. So a little bit of context there. Number 9, contributing to a Roth IRA, not realizing that you can't do that if you're married and you file your taxes separately or during a transition year to a tendinghood and your income breaches the threshold to direct contributions. I'm going to summarize this one with Roth IRAs directly to them. A lot of high income earners are going to hit a point where that's not achievable anymore. Based on all of Tyler's notes there, that's what he's trying to say. Don't worry though, there is something called a backdoor Roth IRA. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, ooh, my income did jump a lot, or I'm married now, here's one that catches a lot of people. If you're doing married filing separately for student loan purposes, you almost guaranteed you make too much money to go directly to a Roth now. The income's $10,000, the limit's $10,000. So keep an eye on that. There is income threshold that you can no longer go directly to the Roth. Don't freak out, and you can still do your backdoor Roths. Number 10, not getting their will and trust documents in order. Very large problem. Our last video, we talked about 5 things to start the year. We noted estate documents. It's vital. Everyone needs to have their estate documents done. I know Tyler puts trust in there. Don't get freaked out by the word trust. For most of you, this is likely a revocable trust. Trust are not just for the wealthy. Trust, wills, powers of attorney, living wills are vital for every single person watching this video. Every person out there needs these. Number 11, accepting and agreeing to an employment contract without having it reviewed by an attorney. Tyler notes, there lies the missed opportunity to negotiate adjustments in compensation, protected time, and other variables that definitely matter to you. I could not agree more. One of the biggest culprits we see here is individuals that go into a larger hospital system and they say, I can't negotiate anything. It's standardized. You talk to any good physician contract attorney, they will tell you there's always room, right? There's always room to negotiate. Now, I'm not saying your pay is going to double. I'm not going to say that you're going to get, double paid time off. That's not what we're saying. But you need to, one, just have an attorney review it to tell you actually what it all means in layman terms. It's probably worth the cost of admission. But if there are things that you want to work on tweaking, that's what you want to do. One of our favorite attorneys out there is Dennis Hirsch. We also love the work Kyle Clauston over at Resolve and all the work that they're doing. So find a good attorney who really specializes in physician contracts, work with them, one, to understand it, but see if there's anything you can change. 12, Tyler actually gave us a shout out here in terms of Physician Sense, not WealthKeel, not reading or listening to free expert advice via books and podcasts, and he plugs in Physician Sense. Could not agree more, but this even goes back to number 2 on the list, getting easy, simple advice, whether that's Physician Sense, whether that's White Coat Investor. Again, I keep using the group over Ritz-Holtz Wealth Management and that giant group of fantastic content producers, but even better people and financial advisors. They put out good stuff as well. I'd say excellent stuff. I think every single week we're putting some of that in our WealthKeel Weekly. Last 3, not spending enough money. Bet you didn't expect to see that one on this type of list, right? And again, I could not agree more with that. I think this is a little bit scarier early in your career, not spending enough. One of our big things we try to always preach to our clients is finding that balance, right? One, physician burnout is a real thing. Any high income professionals, even if we're talking to, you're watching this and you're a high paid tech employee, same thing. Burnout is real for a lot of groups and a lot of people. Finding that balance to enjoy more today, add in more travel, add in more staycations. I'm not saying you have to go spend a ton of money. I know the term here is not spending enough money, but finding that work-life balance to give you more energy going forward. I think this becomes an even larger problem in the decumulation space. So for our clients that are retired, they're truly terrified to spend money. It's actually amazing. There's plenty of good research that shows that a lot of people die with almost more net worth that they had even when they retired. It's kind of crazy, some of the statistics out there. So just keep an eye on that. I just label it as find your work-life balance. Number 14, exact opposite side of this, not saving enough money. Going to put these two together, right? Work-life balance. You have to find that balance of saving for tomorrow, but still enjoying today. I think that covers 13 and 14 really well. Tyler puts in on number 15, the last one here, not hiring a financial planner soon enough. Again, Tyler's list, not my list, but of course, we agree. I think the one thing to keep in mind with hiring a financial planner is it doesn't have to be a forever commitment, right? You don't have to sign up for, the next 3 decades. Some of you might only need a one-time plan bill, and then you circle back to every few years. Some of you might only need an hourly engagement. Some of you might truly need long-term financial planning because you actually do want to delegate this. Your time is more valuable in other places, and that's fine. But at least think about consulting with a financial advisor. At least have, get that second opinion to see, are you missing something, right? You could read all the books. You could have done everything, but there's still little things that you didn't optimize yet. So keep an eye on that, but that's number 15 here. As always, thanks for hanging out with me for the last 15 minutes or so. Again, I cannot take credit for this one. This was a great tweet by Tyler Olson, my co-host for Physician Sense. I'll put a little link in there to that tweet so you can also see the whole thing. But also got really good engagement, so we knew that this hit home with a lot of people. So we figured, you know what? We're usually working together for Physician Sense. Let's add some context to this great list that Tyler already built. We'll give him a few shout outs as well, because you know that we love Tyler. So that's it. Again, thanks for hanging out with me for the last 15 minutes or so. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Click on the thumbs up, drop us some comments, some thoughts, some ideas, some love, whatever down below. Again, thank you. And as always, I will catch you in the next video.